Kia ora, Walrus Watchers. I wanted to return to something from a video that I made earlier today about Sticky Willy. Okay, so before you switch off in disgust or before you get overexcited, Sticky Willy is a name for a plant, not the proper name, but a kind of a common name, which I found growing today in hedgerow in New Zealand, which really it shouldn't be because it comes from a long way away. It's not native, it's an alien species, and this kind of got me thinking a lot more about kind of alien species, various different kinds of the broader sense of the word, and it made me think of H.G. Wells in particular. And I thought, thank you to Gwendoline here for just reminding me, because she just put the comment on that previous video. She just put hashtag colonialism under the thing about Sticky Willy, and I think that's absolutely right. Now, where does H.G. Wells come into this? So H.G. Wells, an early science fiction, a pioneer science fiction writer, and among many other things, he wrote a novel. I think it was written as a novel, because a lot of these things weren't written as novels; they were written as series in newspapers and things like that. A lot of the Dickens, what we call novels, were actually serialized. Anyway, so it's now known to us as a novel, War of the Worlds, and it was kind of really the prototype for all the follow-on alien invasion kind of books, films, what have you. And it's really good. And it has a lot of personal meaning to me because I was always a great fan of Jeff Wayne's musical version of it, and I ended up in a stage version of that. So I may dig out an old picture of me and put that as the thumbnail, or I may not, really, depending on how good it looks for this video. So it's kind of a classic kind of superior technology takes over Earth, but one of the themes in there is that, as well as these kind of very strange aliens in these advanced mechanical kind of craft, there wasn't a lot of flying in Jeff. They were kind of tripods that these aliens walked around in, but they kind of made a flight from Mars, took over. And one of the things that kind of is he also sort of built into this novel was that some of their plant life came with them, and there was this kind of red weed that choked everything up. It was this kind of grew incredibly quickly and completely changed the landscape. And he said that's why Mars is red, because he got this red weed on there, kind of things. Which don't laugh, because this is a long time ago. We kind of know why Mars is red now, but this is brilliant. Feat of imagination for the day. So not only did these superior intelligences come and take over and feed upon humans and human life, but also their plant life came with them. And I can't remember whether in the novel it was by accident or design. So it kind of got me thinking. And the interesting thing about War of the Worlds, it's been said many times that the whole novel is an analogy for colonialism, for a superior technology, taking over, taking control, and exploiting other cultures that I don't like to even use words like primitive, but cultures that don't have such an advanced technology, so that they're more vulnerable, really. And that's the essence of every kind of alien invasion kind of movie, film, that we've kind of had ever since, including some quite clever ones where I'm a great fan of the V series, where they come along and kind of make out that they're our friends, and they're going to help us, and they offer us a few things, and there's a few things that they want, but we can work mutually, and they'll be very helpful. But actually, the whole thing is that they take over, and that's pretty much what happened in kind of New Zealand. Really, is we kind of, there was a treaty. We said, we're friends. We don't, we want to kind of. Govern mutually. All the natural resources belong to you, the Maori, native people, the indigenous population. We'll just provide the law and blah 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 blah. And then that didn't last very long, and then there was something called a rapatu, which was a land grab and a bloody war with atrocities taking place. So And it just made me think, kind of seeing, you know, the plant, seeing the sticky willy in the hedgerow, a little bit like the red weed of the War of the Worlds, really. So it's almost like, you know, the land, and one of the big themes, you know, that I've discovered, I had no idea before I came to New Zealand. One of the big problems, massive problems that people are always talking about is alien species, you know, causing ecological problems. You know, it's a massive issue, and you know, New Zealand had a very unique ecosystem in that there's practically no mammals. So that's why there's lots of flightless birds. That's where kind of the kiwi, which is, you know, kind of the big fat flightless bird, you know, which couldn't really exist in most of the countries because it would be too vulnerable. It would be eaten by, you know, if it lived in the UK, it'd be eaten by foxes. Okay, but now these things, not necessarily the creatures, but their eggs, or whatever, can be eaten because people brought predators in, like stoats and things like that, and there are other creatures. There's lots of creatures, so it's a huge thing. So everywhere you go in New Zealand, there's traps. You know, just on the walk that I did today, where I showed you in that video, there, you know, every, I don't know, less than 100 meters you go, there'll be a rat and mouse trap, and they drop poison on mass in national parks and wild places and things like that for the various kind of, you know, alien creatures that have kind of come across. And also makes me think, it's sort of another kind of just a slight link I want to make to, I've talked about them before, but there's a brilliant band which young Maori guys, really young, and it's a heavy metal band called Alien Weaponry. And they combine things like haka with heavy metal, which work brilliantly. And a lot of their lyrics are in Te Reo Maori, the Maori language. And they're one of the best sort of rock bands that have come on the scene since Metallica, I would say. I think they're really quite stunning. And a lot of their song lyrics are about things like the land grabs that took place and some of the atrocities that took place. So, you know, I think it's brilliant. I think, you know, this is the kind of the resurgence, really, is, you know, often happens through culture, through music and things like that. So they're called, again, Alien Weaponry. So, you know, the War of the Worlds, you know, the superior technologies. So, for example, like you know, the British had artillery. The Maori tribes didn't have artillery. You know, the Britain was able to draw on troops from all over the empire and have a, you know, a vast army, whereas the tribes, the iwis, they're called in New Zealand, there were many different tribes. Some fought the British, some didn't, you know, and there was intertribal warfare, which is just like the kind of the War of the Worlds thing. So the Martians, they're united. They're not tribalistic. They're one nation, one empire, and they come over and they're able to take over the Earth, you know, probably more easily because of the tribalism of planet Earth. And when I say tribalism, I mean all the different nations. You know, it's not one united world. So there you go, kind of unusual kind of joining of dots from kind of different ideas. I'm going to give you a few bonus facts about H.G. Wells, which might surprise you in a second. But before I do that, the kind of commercial break. If you like what I do, and I don't just talk about Sticky Willy, I talk a lot about some very serious things. I talk a lot about one of the things this channel does is it spreads a message about a psychiatric condition called retroactive jealousy, which very few people realise is a condition, but many people suffer from it. I think some people have watched the videos and misunderstood that, and they've thought I've been talking about just normal kind of jealousy that people experience, but retroactive jealousy is a condition. So I talk about that and spread the word on that. I also spread the word on other obscure conditions like pathological demand avoidance syndrome, and I also share a lot of stuff around things like domestic violence, the effects of access to pornography upon children. I'm a psychotherapist, so I share lots of kind of psychological stuff. I also do a series analysing song lyrics from a psychological perspective. So there's loads and loads of stuff, some of which is quite serious and has a message which will help people. So I'm very passionate about getting that out. If you want to help me with that, then please like this video, please hit the subscribe button, please share it with anyone that you think might be interested. And if you really want to help me, if you want to help me big time, then you can hop over to my other channel, which is called Patreon, and on there you for a sum of your choice you can actually sponsor me, and that would enable me to do much more content, much longer content, much better content. So thank you for that. So quick bonus fact, because my battery's about to run out, that's why I'm kind of hurrying. So H.G. Wells was effectively an uncle figure to A.A. Milne, the author of Pooh Bear. I love Pooh Bear. And the other sort of bonus fact, really, just to sort of, you know, to kind of extend the story even further to A.A. Milne. A.A. Milne made famous by the Pooh books, but that was something that actually created at the end of his career. He had a huge body of work that went before. He was mainly a playwright. He was also an editor of a kind of humorous magazine, but he wrote masses and masses of plays, which nobody ever talks about. Okay, we're kind of fallen by the wayside, really. Made famous by Pooh. And why not? Pooh's fantastic, but remember, there's much more to A.A. Milne than Pooh Bear. Okay, so on that note, I hope I've successfully joined all those dots together and you found that interesting. And I will say, Rangi Markie, Rangi Markie.